but unfortunately, you have some bad ones too. You know, everything comes down to one game. You're not always going to get a great one. We'll touch on yesterday too, and then we'll go into. I think if I had to put into a category, it's going to fall into the worse half than the better half. What yesterday? Easily.
I think bottom 5.
So I'm going to let Chris start this one because he's very.
I didn't think that bad.
So we'll start with. We're going to talk about the worst Super Bowls of all time, and we'll touch on the game yesterday because Chris has some. Chris is putting it right there in the bottom 5. So what do you think about worst Super Bowls?
Yeah, I mean, listen, if it was a defensive battle between the Bears and the Ravens, right? Yesterday, then that's one thing, and that's something you'd almost expect. And because great defense, they'll put that product on the field. And if it ended at 6-3 or 10-3 like this kind of ended, then I'd like that because I love defensive battles. But to me, this really wasn't a defensive battle, even though both defenses schemed well and played well. It was more, to me, sloppy offensive play. It was sloppy Goff, who was absolutely lost and horrible.
Terrible.
Horrible.
One of the worst quarterback performances in the Super Bowl ever.
In the Super Bowl ever,
the numbers, yeah.
Just completely confused. And maybe we give a shout out to Belichick for that, but also Goff that's on him too. Because there's open guys.
Gotta give a little credit to Belichick.
Little credit to Belichick.
Goff was.
Both teams couldn't run, but I think that was the game plan going in. I think both teams said, let's stop the run. So that, fine, let's stop the run. Okay. That's one thing.
I have to say, though, running games both wound up having good games, though.
Well, not the Rams.
No, their yards per carry were phenomenal. They just didn't give them touches.
They weren't.
They had good games.
I don't think so. I think Gurley had 10 carries for
I don't know,
35 yards.
Surgery very soon.
No, they wound up having good yards per carry. I did look it up.
35 yards isn't good.
They had more than that, I believe. Okay. I will check it out. But
so we'll say that this Super Bowl was, this Super Bowl was definitely one of the worst. But the only thing that this Super Bowl had that could take it, that I think is going to keep it from being the worst, was that with 6 minutes left in the game, you still had Goff.
I don't agree with one of the worst. You keep going into that.
In my opinion, then I'm going to jump into you. But the reason I think it's not the worst, but it did have, 6 minutes left in the game. They were at the 30-yard line. Goff had to throw to Cooks that was dropped in the end zone, then another one that was dropped, and then he threw a pick. Mm-hmm. So it was still a one-score game. So I'm going to let Donnie. Why aren't you're saying that this one wasn't one of the worst, so what are some of the worst ones that you remember?
Right off the bat, you have enough big-time blowouts that already take that out of being one of the worst.
I agree with you.
Like, the Bears 85 team, one of the greatest teams ever, that was one of the worst Super Bowls that ever was.
Because they just destroyed them.
Yeah, it was like a 35-point game or something.
But people were excited to see that, I think, because the Bears are so dominant that year.
You could be excited to see it, but the game was terrible, though.
The Niners won a Super Bowl 55-10.
Yeah.
The Cowboys won a Super Bowl 52-17.
Mm-hmm. Two of the Bills Super Bowls were unwatchable.
Yeah, against the Cowboys. Yeah. Both against the Cowboys.
The Bucks Raiders, unwatchable.
Terrible.
Oh, that was a bad one.
The Seahawks Broncos, unwatchable.
Like, the first play of the game was a safety.
All these games you're saying are horrible, and I understand because it's a blowout, and I know that this was close, so it makes it kind of exciting at the end.
You want to watch it till the end of the game.
But the whole game, every single part, up until the last 5 minutes of that game last night, the game was awful. Now, I'm saying because there was no scoring whatsoever. There was no touchdown till the last 5 minutes of the game. That's incredible. It was a low-scoring game in the NFL history.
If you like the defense,
but it wasn't defensive battle, though. That's the problem.
There were a lot of good defensive plays, though.
I disagree that it was a defensive battle. I think it was poor, sloppy offensive play because both these teams put up 30 points a game, pretty much, in the regular season.
No, I would agree with you on that, though. I would say that both Brady and Goff had
way on the par.
Yeah. They didn't play that great of games. I agree with you.
Brady came along towards the end.
He did,
what I'm going to say for Chris is that this Super Bowl, that why it's really bad is that so the blowout games they at least had some exciting plays,
defensive plays,
like the Bears you talk about. Refrigerated Perry scored a touchdown. That's memorable. Did Walter Payton score a touchdown or not? The
dominant defenses.
The Broncos, Seahawks. There was a couple of pick sixes, I believe. This had, after a while, it just had nothing. It was 3-3 after 3 quarters. There was nothing happening. So yes, it was close.
You were not going to watch it. You were going to turn that off.
No, I didn't. I didn't say
no one's going to turn it off. Turn it off.
No, but that's not true, though.
I didn't turn off Seahawks Broncos.
I did not watch the second half of that game because there was no reason to.
Because it was a blowout?
Yes.
Why? The Falcons blew out the Patriots. That game was horrible.
21-3, they started coming back.
All of a sudden, they
28-3, sorry,
they came back. You could have turned that game off, and look what happened. That's
I think
why
a lot of people did, actually.
Yeah, probably. So, exactly. Look what happens at the end, and it ended up being one of the best games ever. There was some action. When a defense is dominant like the Bears of '85 or the Ravens of 2000, you're excited just to see a dominant D play the game. And yeah, they blew out the Giants, but they deserve to. They were so dominant on defense, it was exciting to watch, I think. Whereas this game, they did the total opposite of what you wanted to see because you're excited to see two great offenses go at it, and you got the total opposite. So it kind of killed the whole luster of the game. You're expecting a 34-31 type game, and it ended up being a 3-3 game till the last 5 minutes. That's embarrassing.
I'll say this. This is what made me actually not like the game that much. Gurley, I mean, they wouldn't tell you what was wrong with him, but then they wouldn't use him much. Yeah. That really was bothersome.
Something wrong with
that was
Gurley?
Yeah.
What I'll say is
that's what we're thinking. I don't know what the case is.
What I'll say is the last point is that when you look at the score, 13-3, it's not going to look as bad. But what Chris said with context, those were two supposed to be high-scoring teams.
Right.
And the fact that they underperformed, I think, hurt the Super Bowl as well.
Go Bridgeside.